Hi everyone, and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today I'm making a mid-century suburban home, and I just want to do this because I was in the mood recently to make another family home, but I didn't really want to make another typical American suburban house because I feel like I've done this a lot recently. Like, I made that Parenthood house a couple of months ago, and then I renovated that Cape Cod Charmer home that I made back when The Sims 4 first came out, and then I also have a Let's Build going on in which I'm making another one of those suburban homes. So I feel like I've just been doing that style a lot recently, and I really just didn't want to do that again. So I decided to just make a suburban house with kind of a mid-century modern styling to it. And the inspiration for this came recently as I was driving through this neighborhood that had all of the suburban homes that were in sort of this mid-century modern style. And I thought it was so cool because they were just, it wasn't like a typical suburban neighborhood where all the houses just look exactly the same, but with different colored siding and shutters and all of that. Like, they're all just these different styled homes, but they all kind of went together. Like, they all had this similar mid-century modern styling, but they were different shapes. Like, there were some homes that, because it wasn't like typically what I would think of when I think of mid-century modern homes, because usually I think of homes that are, I guess, like one floor and are more so sprawling. But these were more like typical suburban homes, but with that kind of styling to it. Like, for example, there was a split floor home, and usually those have, horizontal siding and shutters and all that. But instead of that, they had diagonal siding, and instead of shutters around the windows, they had columns on either side of the windows, and then just a plain, what looked like a plain paint behind the window. So it'd be kind of like in the game if you had a window and you just put plain wallpaper behind it and then columns beside it, and the rest of it was siding. Which I just thought there was something so cool about it. It was just like someone took regular suburban homes and made them look a little bit more modern, but I think they were actually built that way back in, I guess, the 60s. So really, that's what I was going for with this house. And I guess I could have done that whole having plain paint behind the windows thing, but I didn't end up doing that. I didn't really think the house actually needed that because I just felt like it looked a little bit better keeping things simple, although I'm talking about this now and I haven't even gotten to the siding yet, but yeah, I just kept it all plain siding because I felt like it was better to just kind of keep things a little simpler. But this was just such a fun style to build in, and I also had been wanting to make a mid-century modern home ever since the bowling stuff pack came out, but never really got around to it, so here we are. I finally did it. Yeah, so here's all the siding. So I just had that reddish wood paneling all over the whole outside of it. Well, except for where the garage is, because it wouldn't really look that good if I just left that as a siding, so I used some kind of stone wallpaper for that looked kind of like a garage door, because it is sort of tricky to try to make garages that look like garages in this game, because we unfortunately don't have those, and I don't really know if that's a thing we're ever going to get, but there are some ways to make pretty convincing looking garage doors, and there is that garage door that came with City Living, but unfortunately, that doesn't really work that well on homes. It just looks more like something like an industrial dock rather than an actual home garage door. But I think this worked pretty well. And this is actually, well, I wouldn't say it's the first house I made with a faux garage on it, because in the Let's Build series I'm doing, that house has a garage, but it's not, the house isn't finished yet. So this is the first house I've actually finished with that in it. So I just use the garage as sort of a woodworking area. That's really the only useful thing that's out there. Oh, and this house also has this really nice open foyer. So yeah, that whole area when you walk in is just open 2 floors, although unfortunately we have that really annoying roof popping through thing going on, which just always frustrates me. Like, it's probably not something that's ever gonna get fixed. I hope it'll get fixed eventually, but yeah, unfortunately probably not. But at this point, I've just learned to just deal with it and just ignore it and pretend it's not there. I mean, if you're playing with the walls on cut down or cutaway, then I don't think you really see it. Normally, that's how I personally play the game. So I don't think it really gets in the way much when you're actually playing it, but it just looks really annoying when you're trying to get nice screenshots of the house, so it kind of ruins that a little bit. Yeah, so I think right now I'm just starting on figuring out the whole landscaping. Also got a reddish colored picket fence around the outside of it. In the back of the house, oh, and in case anyone's wondering, I didn't use a new toddler stuff pack in this house because either this video is going to be going up right before the pack releases or right after releases. I'm not really sure. Depends on whether or not I can finish another video for this week, because as I mentioned in 3 or 4 videos recently, I am doing a lot of traveling for work this month and also a little bit of next month. So I've just been going back and forth between home and staying in a hotel. So I'm pre-recording this Sunday before I leave for this week. And fortunately that means I'm not going to be home when the pack comes out, so I can't get it right away. So I guess I'll just be living vicariously through those who get it early and post reviews. So I'll probably be watching some reviews on the pack, I guess, the day, because usually the day before the pack's release, the people who get the early release copies put out their videos, so I'll probably just be watching those since I can't really get it myself. And unfortunately, I probably won't be doing an overview for this pack like I usually do, just because I'm going to be gone when it comes out, and then I'm not going to be getting back till like Saturday evening, and those, I tend to put a lot of work into those videos. Like, they usually take me 10 to 12 hours to make. So it's just with how much traveling I'm doing right now, I feel like that's not really a useful way to spend my time, just because by the time I get the video up, it's probably gonna be into the next week, and at that point everyone and their mother's gonna know what's in the pack, so it's just kind of pointless to put out another video showing everything that comes with the pack, especially when it's gonna take me so much time to make. Like, I just feel like it'd be a better use of my time to work on different kinds of videos, which just bother me a little bit. Like, it bothers my inner completionist that I'm gonna be missing the video for another pack, although I didn't make a video for Get Together, so I mean, I already missed one. Like, I already blew the streak of making a video for every pack, so I mean, it's not a big deal, you know. Unfortunately, life just gets in the way sometimes, but I mean, there'll be plenty of other people making reviews, so it's not really a huge deal if I miss this one. But I definitely will be making some kind of build for the pack. I'm not sure what to make, because it looked like the pack was more so outdoors toddler stuff. Like, I thought it was just going to be, you know, more bedroom furniture and that kind of a thing when they first announced it, but it looks like it's actually gonna be, like, there's a jungle gym in it and a slide and a ball pit, so that's kind of cool that they have that sort of stuff in it, and just some other outdoorsy things for toddlers. And I was kind of hoping for beds, but I also feel like it's good to have other things for toddlers to do, so, you know, we already have, I think, 3 or 4 beds for toddlers, so I guess it's fine. It's probably a good thing that they're focusing on some other kind of content for toddlers, but I am looking forward to making a build for it. And I was thinking that maybe I could build some kind of, I wanted to build some kind of place where you could bring children and toddlers that are useful, like maybe some kind of cool park lot, or maybe a Chuck E. Cheese's kind of place, like a restaurant that's child-friendly and has an arcade area and the jungle gym inside of it, and maybe like a little stage that's where, because if you've ever been to Chuck E. Cheese's, they had that whole like creepy animatronic music show or whatever it was. Like, I haven't been to Chuck E. Cheese in years, but I remember they just had like the rat who's the mascot of it, and then like some other various animatronic animals singing. So I wanted to make like if I do that, I want to make like a fake stage area for that, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. I don't know. I want to do one of those two things, like just a lot that's useful. Although, can toddlers even go to restaurants? I don't know. I haven't really tried that. Maybe if you stick a high chair in the restaurant, they can go to it. It's not really something I've tested. Ooh, random Chuck E. Cheese fun fact. The guy who started Atari is the same guy who started Chuck E. Cheese's. I actually listened to a podcast on how he started both those businesses recently, so that was kind of interesting. And I also listened to another Chuck E. Cheese related podcast recently about how, because the games are priced so cheaply at Chuck E. Cheese's, parents supposedly break out in fights because their kids hog the machine, so then they fight the other parents to get their kids off the machine or something like that. Like, I had no idea parents breaking out into brawls at Chuck E. Cheese's were a thing, but apparently it kind of is. And it's actually been a few months since I listened to that podcast, so I can't remember if they said they were going to change the pricing to make that a little more expensive, so that was less likely to happen, or maybe they ended up like finding out that that wasn't really as common of a thing as it's made out to be, or something along those lines. But still, I found that kind of interesting. And I think I also heard recently that they're gonna stop having the animatronic music show. I don't know, I just saw a title for an article on that. I didn't bother reading it, so I don't know if it's true or what, but there you go. That's some Chuck E. Cheese fun facts. But anyway, right now I'm working on the foyer area of the house, which, looking back at the build, is maybe a little proportionally big to the rest of the main level, because the living and dining room area is kind of cramped, but that was just how it ended up coming out, because I wanted it to be 4 tiles wide, so you have the door in the center of it, and then the walls on either side, and then it also had to go back far enough that the Sims could get around and go to the basement stairs, because the house does actually have a basement, because I've been meaning to make more homes with basements in them, so I just went ahead and did that with this house. But I mean, I guess it's fine. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get everything right, but I'm still pretty happy with how the layout of this house came out. And with it, I was kind of trying to give it sort of a retro style to it. Like, I was using some of the stuff from the bowling stuff pack, and I was trying to use some mid-century-ish type colors like the oranges, and I guess those blues are kind of go with that too. And I also really like how the wallpaper that I used in the kitchen looks, because once I get all the cabinets around it, you don't see the wainscoting anymore. It does fit in really nicely with the rest of the main area, and that's not a coloring of that I usually use, because usually I use more of the grayish colorings of the wallpaper, but for this house, this was just perfect. And then, yeah, so right now we're starting on the kitchen, and along that one wall, I just turned that into kind of a pantry area, although I do end up taking out one of those cabinets and then placing a refrigerator tucked in there, which I really liked. I really liked how that looked once I arranged everything, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this whole kitchen area turned out. And I actually built most of this house in one night, because this past week I was gone from Monday till Thursday night. So before I left on Monday, or before I went to bed on Monday, I finished most of the outside of the house, like up until the landscaping. And then after I came back on Thursday, I stayed up the whole night and just finished the rest of it, because I mentioned this in a few videos recently too, but while I'm traveling, I'm mostly working overnight from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I just gotten really used to staying up all night. So I came back at like 10 p.m. Thursday, and I was still wide awake because I woke up at like 6 o'clock in the evening, because my whole sleep schedule while I was away was going to bed at 8 or 9 a.m. and then waking up at around 5 to 6 p.m. or something like that. So yeah, I'm on kind of a weird sleep schedule. So yep, just stayed up through the whole night and just built this house and finished most of it in one night, because yeah, I was having fun working on it. I mean, everyone else was sleeping, so I didn't really have much else to do other than to just do this and maybe watch TV. And then right now it's Sunday, so tomorrow I go back once again, and then this time I'm going to be gone till probably Saturday evening, so I'm going to be gone for a bit longer this time, and once again I'm working overnight. So yeah, I've just been holding on to the whole staying up all night and waking up in the evening schedule, which just feels really weird, because I mean, I guess usually I would consider myself kind of an early, like an early bird, like a morning person, although, because usually I get up around 8 or so, which I guess is early to some people. Like usually I go to bed around midnight and wake up at 8 or something like that, so it just feels so weird to be going to bed at, like 9 in the morning, although when since I've been home, I've been going to bed at more like 6 in the morning, but it just feels so weird to me. But I've been getting more used to it. Like, I've been feeling pretty awake through the whole night, but it's just a weird feeling being wide awake at 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm just not used to it. But the reason why I'm doing all this traveling, just in case anyone cares and hasn't seen one of the videos where I've already talked about it, is that my company is installing this pretty involved modification or upgrade to an automation machine to make it run better, more productive. And last week was the install of this, so it took 3 days of people working around the clock to install the modification, and I got stuck with the overnight shift for that. And then from now through the end of the year, they want to do 24/7 on-site support, just because there's things that could potentially go wrong, and then that could lead to the machine being shut down and the company that owns it losing money, which they would not be happy about. So they just want someone there around the clock to fix anything that goes wrong right away. So the people who are doing support shifts are assigned 12-hour shifts to do it. So yeah, I just go up there for like a week or so and do 12-hour shifts as 12-hour support shifts, and most of it's over the next month. Like the next 3 weeks I'm gonna be, or actually the next 4 weeks I'm gonna be gone for some part of the week doing that, and then after that it's just once a week through the end of the year. So it's not as bad after that. It's just disrupting my life a little bit more right now. And I mean, it is a good learning experience. Like I learned a lot from the install last week, and it'll be a good experience for me to, I guess, have to think on my feet a little bit more as an engineer, like to actually go to a site by myself, because I haven't gone to a site by myself, which I'm a little bit nervous about, because I'm worried something's going to go wrong and then I'm not going to know how to fix it. But I mean, I don't know, sometimes things come to me. Like sometimes I remember things that I don't really like remember that I knew, and then I end up being fine. So I think it'll be good. I just might have to think on my feet a little bit, or maybe nothing will go wrong and everything will be smooth sailing. We'll have to see how it goes. So, yeah, this week I'm not actually working by myself, though. I'm working with someone else to get the hang of what I have to do when I do these support shifts on my own, but I'm more nervous about when I'm doing the shifts on my own. So yeah, it's going to be a really good experience for my career, and it is good to do something different because, I mean, it does get a little boring when you get into this routine of just going to the office and working your 9 to 5 day, and, life gets kind of boring when it gets into this routine, so it's always good to break out of that a little bit, and this is definitely something that is breaking my life out of its usual routine because, I mean, my whole sleep schedule is just completely reversed and flipped upside down, so now I'm nocturnal instead of, I think it's diurnal is what it is when you sleep at night. But, it definitely does disrupt my life a little bit, so that's the downside of it. But, I mean, I'm young, I don't have a family right now, so this is the time of my life when I can do this sort of thing. Unfortunately, it will affect how many videos I'm able to upload, but my career does have to come before my hobby, which I think is pretty understandable, but, I mean, I should be able to have 2 or 3 videos up this week, so that's not too bad. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to upload last week, but this is still something I want to do when I have the time, but unfortunately over the next month I'm not going to have as much time as usual for it. But, I think having the week or so away from being able to make videos just makes me want to make them even more when I come back, so that's kind of a good thing in a way. Like, sometimes I think it's good to have a break from things to really appreciate it, and I think this time away from home is making me just, really, more excited to come back and make videos. So yeah, right now I'm working on furnishing the upper floor. So up here there's a study, which we just finished, because originally I was going to have 3 bedrooms up here, but then I had that little 3x5 room, and I thought that was maybe a little too small for a bedroom, because it can't really fit a whole lot in a 3x3 room, like maybe a bed and a table and a dresser, and that's really about it. So I thought a study would be a bit better of a use of space than that. So here I'm just working on a teen bedroom, which I was actually intending to be a kid's bedroom originally, and then the other bedroom on this floor was going to be a teen bedroom, but I decided instead to turn the larger bedroom into a bedroom for 2 children, and then to make this a teen bedroom. So it's got kind of, I guess, a space and science theme a little bit. I was trying to put up some of the science posters in the room, and the bed has what I think is supposed to be some planets on the sheets of it, which actually isn't a coloring of the bed that I used before. So I was trying to use some different color swatches of things in this house. Like, I haven't used that color swatch of the shower before, so this bathroom ends up having a red and black color scheme to go with that. And then, as you probably saw, there is the master bedroom on the first floor, and there's also a 4th bedroom in the basement that I imagined as being another teenage bedroom, but I guess I'll talk about that more when I get down there. So right now I'm just working on the kids' bedroom, and I was going to use the parenthood beds in here, but I've actually been using them a lot recently. Well, I use them a lot in a build that, the last build I did, but you haven't seen that build yet at this point because it's actually a collab, and I finished my part of it, so now I'm waiting for the person who I'm doing the collab with to finish their half of it. But yeah, in that build I used the parenthood bed that I used in the other bedroom so many times. I think I used it in, let's see, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. Oh, that's actually not that many. No, 4. I used it in 4 bedrooms, but 1 bedroom had 2 beds in it, so I used it like 5 times in that one build, so I was like, maybe I should do something else in this room. But yeah, I'm not sure when that other build will be up, but I'm really excited to share that. If you've looked at my gallery recently, you've probably seen it because it's just this half-finished build, so if you want to get a sneak peek of what that is, you can go over to my gallery page and see that. And just because you don't know, my idea over there is the tides changing as well. But I really like the orange and blue color scheme of this room. So it's just about done at this point. Right now I'm just getting some posters and such on the wall. I've already got one side of it done, so now we're just working on the other side, just getting a few more posters up, and then that's going to be it. So we're going to be moving on to the basement soon. Yeah, I had that one cluttered item from Parenthood, but I thought it was a little too much for the room, so I just put a few toys on the rug instead, which looked a little bit better. So now we're on to the basement, which has this old-looking panel rec area kind of a style to it, because, I mean, a lot of basements in older homes just have paneling all throughout them. Like, the house that I grew up in was built in the 60s, and that had paneling all throughout the basement. I remember my parents had a little bar area off to the side, so that was what I was going for with this. Like, I imagined that the upstairs of the house was maybe updated a little more recently, but the basement hasn't been touched in a bit, so things down here definitely look a lot more out of date, and even the bathroom, when I get to that, just looks more out of date than the ones upstairs, because upstairs I used a lot of the parenthood stuff and more modern counters and that kind of a thing, but everything down here definitely looks a little bit more musky, or I don't know if that's the right word. I mean, it looks like a basement that would smell kind of musky, but it just looks a little bit more drab and dated and that sort of a thing. And as it is right now, the Sims can't actually get through to where the foosball table is, but I did a little bit of testing before I uploaded, so I replaced that one table and lamp with just a standing lamp and just shoved it a little bit closer to the couches so they can actually get through. Because usually before I upload builds, I don't test everything thoroughly, but there's usually a few things as I'm placing them where I realize that's kind of questionable as to whether or not Sims are actually going to get through it, so usually I just test those things before uploading just to make sure Sims can get through and use the things that they really need to use. But yeah, this is the bathroom that I was talking about. Yeah, as you can see, it's a little bit more dated than the ones upstairs. Doesn't look quite as modern, but I mean, it's not bad. You know, it's not that bad. And as far as the other two rooms, the larger one that I'm working on now is just going to be a little home gym, and then the one next to that is the teen bedroom that I was talking about, and this room just came together really quickly. I just slapped down a few pieces of workout equipment and called it a day. I wanted to have a yoga mat here, but there wasn't really enough space to put it down and to have everything be functional. I mean, it probably would have still worked, but it just didn't really fit in quite right, so I felt like it was best to just leave that out. So we're on to the last room of this house, and for this room, I ended up making it for what I imagined as a teenager who was really into painting, because I was trying to figure out what to do to fill in the space, so I just crammed in a whole bunch of painting stuff around the room. But that's really about it for this build, so as usual, if you want to download it, there'll be a link to do so in the description, and also have stuff in there on how to find it in-game, and yeah, that's all for me, so I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.